What's going on, everyone? Juicebags here, and welcome back to some Dungeon Defenders 2. Now, one of the most important questions, or the most frequent questions I get asked all the time, is when should you use Ancient Power for the very first time? And before you even consider that, there's a few things you want to take into consideration. First off, the Ancient Power system is completely optional, and it is not for everyone. The end game for each individual player will be different, and you choose your own end game path. All of us can only get to the maximum of Chaos 7 gear, and the true end game is seeing how far in Onslaught floors you can push. You choose that path, and currently there is no reward for pushing past floor 114 in Onslaught. Now, if you choose not to use Ancient Power and just play the game as it is and get to Chaos 7, go ahead and head into Onslaught and get yourself up to floor 114. Not only is that very realistic, but if you're having fun doing it, it is 100% the right thing to do, and Ancient Power may not be something that you need to invest in at all. Now, if you do plan on playing the game for longer term, or you don't mind putting lots of hours in, then Ancient Power could definitely be right for you. One thing to always consider with Ancient Power is if you're not going to do it multiple times, it's not worth doing. The rewards for each individual Ancient Power reset are very small, however they do add up. So if you're going to do it over and over, you will add up to having a very powerful character. However, if you're only going to do it once or twice, you're not going to get much of a benefit from it, and it's probably not in your best interest. Now, one of the most important things on deciding when to actually use Ancient Power for the first time is going to be looking at your Minimum Ascension. Your Minimum Ascension is gained through your current Ascension level, plus how many floors in Onslaught that you push past floor 65. Of course, floor 65 and Ascension level 250 is the minimum that you have to get to reset. However, it's not going to reward you very good if you only push to that point. For example, if, say, you are Ascension 1000 and you push just to floor 65, your starting Ascension is going to be based off of your Onslaught floor course plus your current Ascension. If your current Ascension is 1000, you want to take that number and divide it by 50, which would give you 20, then multiply by 3, or 60 starting Ascension. Now, 60 starting Ascension is the bare bones minimum. I don't really require or suggest anyone reset at that point. However, this is the absolute minimum you would want to reset to. Now, it's much easier to get those starting Ascension levels by not looking at your current Ascension at all and focusing more on pushing Onslaught floors. Your first time you reset, if you take whatever your Ascension is, say your Ascension's 300, you divide that by 50, which gives you 6, and then you multiply by 3, which is 18. So if you're Ascension level 300 and you reset at floor 65, you're going to have 18 starting Ascension. Now, your minimum Ascension number, as I mentioned, will never go down. So once you get it, it's yours. It's never going to drop any lower. And the best thing you can do is push that number to as high as possible before you get started. Now, of course, there's several milestone levels you would want to hit. In addition to this minimum Ascension you get from your current Ascension level, you're also going to get 3 minimum Ascension for each floor you push past 65. Now, currently, you can very realistically get to floor 114 with a even medium Ascension set of heroes, as long as you have a nice selection, and currently 114 is what gives you the highest rewards in the current Onslaught system. Now, I'm sure in the future that will probably change. However, right now 114 is kind of the top notch as far as getting rewarded. Now, you can push as high as you want, and you're going to continue to get those starting Ascension levels. However, a lot of people are choosing 114 as their goal to get to. Now, getting into the milestones. As I mentioned, you get 3 starting Ascension levels your first time you use Ancient Power for every floor past floor 65. So, say you were that same Ascension 300 hero, you're going to get that 18 points from your current Ascension level in Minimum Ascension, But say you push to floor 75 instead. Well, 75, of course, is 10 floors over 65, which means 10 times 3 equals 30. You're going to have an additional 30 starting ascension. So if you went to floor 75 and your current ascension is 300, your minimum ascension is going to be 48. No matter how many times you reset, you will never reset below 48, and that number can only go up. Now, as I said, the very, very earliest milestone you would ever want to consider, and you would definitely not really want to consider using the Ancient Power System below this point, is getting a starting ascension of 60. Now, if you had a starting ascension of 60, that's going to allow you 20 points into each one of your ascension categories. So if this was a damage dealing hero, you'd want to put your 20 points into hero crit chance. If this was a builder, you'd want to put your 20 points into defense crit chance. In the defense category, of course, you'd want to put the 20 points directly into whatever defense you're using the most. And same thing in offense in whatever ability you're using the most. Now, as I mentioned, this is the minimum. There's several reasons why I don't suggest anyone resetting this early, as number one being all you're getting is the 20 points in each category. So your heroes are going to feel substantially nerfed over the current state. And although your shards do still stay, you are going to have to relevel those things to gain any sort of power. And your experience back through the Onslaught or Trial system and going up to Ancient Power 2 is going to be much longer, as once again you have to get to a minimum ascension of 250 to reset each time. So if you reset at ascension at level 60 and you go through to floor 65, you are not going to be at level 250 yet, which means you're going to have to continue to grind your ascension to get it up to that point before you can reset again. Now, once you choose the path to reset, of course you want to reset as often as what makes sense for you and really stack up those Ancient Power levels. 60 is really, really bare bones. Now, like I said, I do say that that's the minimum you should ever consider. However, it's just a number that's really lower than what I suggest. Now, of course, the higher starting ascension or minimum ascension that you can obtain, the better off you're going to be and the easier experience you're going to have throughout the rest of the game. The sweet spot to get to really is going to be Ascension level 210. If you're at Ascension 210, you're going to have 70 points in each one of the categories. Those 70 points are going to allow you to max out the defense crit chance, and it's going to allow you to max out your range gambit. So say we were working on this Flame Aura builder, my 70 points in utility would go into defense crit chance and the Flame Aura range gambit. Now, if you plan on grinding out these Ascension, or pardon me, the Ancient Power points, it's also going to be in your best interest to have a selection of heroes. So you don't want hybrid heroes as your Ascension is getting dropped down to a minimum level. If you have hybrid heroes, it spreads out what you can put the points into even more. So it's going to be in your best interest to have one monk for Flame Auras, one monk for Skyguard Towers, and one monk for Lightning Strike Auras, for example. Now, since we're only going to be focusing on building one particular defense with this monk, I can ignore the defense speed, as you're going to get more of a benefit from putting your 70 points directly into the Flame Aura damage than you would from putting 20 points into defense speed and 50 points there. Now, this is really 100% based off of your utility category. How you spend your defense category points and your offense category points really do not matter quite as much, but it is crucial that you get the 20 points into defense crit chance, and it's going to help you out substantially if you can get those 50 points into the range gambit. A minimum ascension of 210 is going to allow you to do that. Now, say for example this is a DPS hero instead. Let's take a look at Jucinda the Mystic. Now, remember, I'm going to have 70 points to spend. Now, this is going to allow me... Actually, the Mystic's a bad example because we currently don't want to use the max appeasement, so let's look at a monk instead. Say this was a DPS monk. It's going to allow me to put the 20 points into hero crit chance. It's going to allow me to put 20 points into the two different quality of life things, 20 into ability mana and 20 into movement speed, and then that would leave me 10 points left over to put into hero crit damage. And I'm going to be maximizing what I can get out of this hero with the minimum ascension spent. Now, if you're confused on how much minimum ascension you're going to get, never fear, no calculator required, no spreadsheet required. If you just open up your hero screen and go to the Powers tab, it's going to tell you right down below, if you reset right now, what your minimum ascension gain is going to be. I'm not in a position to reset right now. However, if I was, I'm going to get +7 to my ascension talent caps and +0 to my minimum ascension level. Now, once again, the first time you do this, make sure in this box that you are at an absolute bare bones minimum of +60 to your minimum ascension level, but ideally you want to be more like +210. Now, if you've got that 210, that's going to make any further Ancient Power resets much, much smoother and much easier to do. I do know that the Ancient Power system is currently very confusing. I know a lot of people will have even more questions about it, so feel free to let me know any questions you have in the comments below, and I will try to get them answered. In addition to that, I do think that Ancient Power will probably get changed at some point in the future, and of course we'll have new guides once that point comes to let everyone know what is in their best interest under the new system. So hopefully this helps everyone out. Thank you all an absolute ton for watching. Click that like button and please subscribe, and I will be back soon with more Dungeon Defenders 2. Take it easy.